Hello, my name is Richard Ratson, and I'm an associate clinical professor in cell biology at the University School of Medicine in Connecticut. This is a second in a series of YouTube videos on the derivation of anatomical terms. This one's on the abdomen, the first of several on the abdomen. The first YouTube was on the pectoral girdle. I had a background in classics, studying Greek and Latin, actually majoring in it in college before I went to medical school, and I found it not only fun and interesting, but it helped me learn anatomy better in medical school. And I'm hoping that these videos will impart that joy and the utility to those who watch them. And I'm certainly trying to do that with the students at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine in anatomy. The title of this talk could just as well have been, why is the duodenum named the duodenum and not the foot? And we'll see why that is later. Or, what does the normal variant of the gallbladder have to do with Paris, the figure in Homer's Iliad, or the symbols of the liberty fighters in the American and French revolutions? That will become clear quite soon. Today I'm going to discuss the pylorus and the duodenum, the jejunum, and the Phyrgian cap of the gallbladder, which is an anatomical variant in approximately 4% of the population, having no pathological significance. The pylorus is the structure between the stomach and the duodenum, and it comes from the Greek word pylorus, which is gatekeeper or warder, W-A-R-D-E-R, and itself comes from two Greek words, pule for gate, and uras, a watcher or guardian. So the pylorus is a watcher of the gate, which is what the pylorus actually is between the stomach and the duodenum. And that term occurred in Galen a long time ago. He was a physician to the Marcus Aurelius emperor in the 3rd century AD. The duodenum is so named because its length was felt to be 2 and 10 or 12 finger breadths wide, and you see from the OED that that's what the derivation is. And in the medieval ages, it was already being used to describe the structure in terms of its length. And here they use inches, which is why I jokingly referred to the duodenum as the foot of the intestines. The foot itself came into being as a measurement of length. One of the first early recorded instances was in 400, 500 AD with Paulus or Abasius. And here you can see from Berengario da Carpi, a very famous anatomist in Europe, that he was using 12 digits of breadth or width to describe the duodenum. The jejunum, the second part of the small intestine, is so named because of its usually empty appearance when dissected in antiquity, and itself comes from the comparison of its empty appearance to its being hungry or without food, from the Latin word for hungry or not partaking of food. And it occurs in Galen, as many terms did in Greek preceding the Latin. And in Greek, the word for empty or hungry is nastis. And you can see it's been used by Hippocrates for not eating or fasting of persons. And it's used substantively for the jejunum for the same reason that it was in Latin. And again, you see in the medieval ages, they're talking about the jejunum. The Phrygian cap of the gallbladder, as I said before, is a congenitally occurring normal variant of the anatomy of the gallbladder. and it occurs because of a fold, a reduplication of tissue where the fundus meets the body, giving it the appearance of a cap, which resembles the Phrygian cap, as we'll see in the next slide. It's benign, of no prognostic significance. It can, however, sometimes fool a radiologist with ultrasound or CAT scans who is not familiar with this structure, and sometimes it can present as looking like a mass lesion in the liver. It was first described by a German physician, Bartel, in 1916, as I learned when I researched the material for this talk. And it was written in the New England Journal in 1956 by Dr. William Ober, a brilliant pathologist, writer, and historian of medicine, and actually a very good friend of mine in the 1980s until he died. And when I researched this paper, I noticed that the co-author was a R.N. Wharton, and that got my interest, Ralph N. Wharton, A.B., and it turns out that A.B., he was a fourth-year student from Harvard University undergrad, and he was at the Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons, which actually is my alma mater as well. And I wonder what he was doing today, and he's now a very famous, very prestigious psychiatrist, still at Columbia. And I mention this because I'd like to make a plea to any students who are looking at this talk to get involved in research and papers with attendings, and it's also a plea to residents and attendings who are doing research and writing papers to recruit medical students whenever possible. It's a win-win situation. Phrygian cap, when imaged, looks so, and it's just a fold. It's not a septum. It's just tissue. It's just a fold flopping back onto itself, and the CAT scan looks like the same. The Phrygian cap in history was a cap worn by Phrygians, and you can see this typical fold here. And the Phrygians were people who lived in Anatolia, where modern-day Turkey is, roughly the time of Homer, 800 BCE to 500 BCE, in Anatolia, where modern-day Turkey is, and probably spoke a variety of the same Greek that the Greeks did on the Greek mainland and the islands. This cap has come to be known as a Phrygian cap, and it, through a process that's not entirely clear, became a symbol of fighters against the monarchy in both the American colonies and France. The etymology itself of Phrygia is not known. It was the name of the region and its peoples. Paris of Greek mythology in the Iliad was a Trojan, and he's likewise depicted as a non-Greek with a Phrygian cap, which you can see here in the painting by Brodowski in the museum in Warsaw. Now, how did it come to be a symbol of liberty? It's not entirely clear, but it may have come from the pylorus, which was a cap symbolizing the free state of a slave who had been emancipated. Only those people could wear this hat, and therefore was felt possibly to be the origin of the Phrygian cap as a symbol of liberty. Centuries later, long after the Phrygians had no longer existed, and it was never considered that in antiquity. But it is shown in American colonial symbolism and iconography, and here is a Phrygian cap on a pole, as is often depicted, or a tree, or on a person. And this is a July 4th, 1776 silver medallion designed by Benjamin Franklin. Likewise, the French took this up, and there are all kinds of Phrygian cap wearing Mary Anne's, who is the national feminine representation of France, as a woman shown wearing a Phrygian cap. In addition, although I do not show it here, the Phrygian cap is part of the national seals of several South American countries. So I hope that I've inspired some people to do their own anatomical research, term research. And here are some suggestions and tips. Google the term along with etymology. Better yet, go to Google Scholar to search for the term in etymology. And if, like the University of Connecticut, you can link up Google Scholar to your university library holdings, any hit you get that is represented in your library will be available for full text download or viewing. The Oxford English Dictionary is also a very wonderful place to look for it. You need to go to an online source, which again is available at the University of Connecticut, and the Oxford English Dictionary is now hyperlinked so that you can look at the term and then its source. You can click on the source and see what other entries in the OED are represented by that author or source. And it will give you the source and also the earliest dating. You can sell one of many books on anatomical nomenclature. You can see the bibliography in the last slide. And you can search for the term in PubMed with or without mesh assistance. And if you don't know how to do that, you go to the home screen, down at the bottom you hit Advanced, and then in the next window you click on Mesh. That will take you to a new window, and then you enter in the term you're looking for, like history of medicine or anatomy, and then hit search. And when you get a list of possible mesh terms, you click on the one you want, like history of medicine, medieval, and you click on that, and it will be added to your search window, and you can search that and or with any other terms you like, for example, jejunum. That will give you individual papers. If you're looking for books, you can go to Google Books, which is a wonderful resource. Most books that are over 75 or 100 years are available as downloadable PDFs. Even better yet, they're often scannable, since apparently Google Books, when it scans these books into its database, makes them searchable through optical character recognition. You can also use a custom time frame. For example, if you're only looking for books in the 16th century, you can so demarcate the window for the time limit. You can do a Perseus word search, which is a very free, wonderful database, searchable database out of Tufts. It's free. You may need a little Latin or Greek background, although it also has text in Old English, Old Norse, and German, for example. And even better yet, any hits you find that take you to a page, for example, in Cicero or Homer, all the text on that page is hyperlinkable to other usages and to free Greek to English or Latin to English dictionaries. Here's a bibliography, and as you can see, some of these are, I would say, generic sources of knowledge about anatomical terms from Latin or Greek or etymology in general, and some of them are about today's video, like the Phrygian cap, or again the Phrygian cap. And some of these are about the Phrygian cap as a symbol of liberty. I hope you've enjoyed this and tried to see my earlier video on the pectoral girdle and future videos on the abdomen and the neuroanatomy. Here is my contact information if anybody wishes to contact me about anatomical terms in general, or the relationship of classics to anatomy, or any other thing of interest in the videos, past or present or future. Please let me know. Thank you very much.